You're listening to Trouvaille Talks Travel on Tucson Business Radio.
It's welcome once again to another Trouvaille Travel Talk. It's been a while, hasn't it? This is episode 2, would you believe? Only. I forget when it started, but Paul Hardersen is the CEO and the owner and the founder of this whole thing. Hi, Paul. Good to see you again.
Hey, Mark.
And I'm stepping in a little bit today just to enjoy doing this with Paul, because since we last chatted, there's been a lot of expansions, and he's going to be explaining all of that. There's some wonderful things happening with Trouvaille, and particularly this promotion. Now, I don't know if you've traveled much. Here in Tucson, if you love going out to dinner and you do like to travel, well, there might be just something ideal for you that we're going to find out about today. And we're going to do it with the 2019 champion of the chefs. You remember that one, the Iron Chefs? Yeah. Oh, that Wendy. Her name is Wendy Gauthier. That's correct, isn't it?
Yep.
Wendy Gauthier, French, I believe. So do you do French cuisine as a matter of interest?
Yes, we do.
You
Absolutely.
do? As well as? Okay. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 2 of Trouvaille Travel Talk. And this is Paul Hardersen.
Hey, Mark. Thanks very much. I think it's episode 3, though.
Is it?
I guess.
Oh, it's been so long, I can't remember. But anyway, let's make it episode 3 then.
Hey,
hopefully, though, getting into next year, you'll be right up there with 23 and 33 and 53 and so on.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Now, there's been a lot happening, right?
Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and one thing about a new company or a young company is there's a lot of development going on. And that's really been the focus for the past, since the year started, essentially. And one of those areas of focus has been our day trips in Arizona, because as you may remember, Mark, we have our big trips and we have our day trips that are local, and then we have our B2B work. And we've been focusing the last few months on our day trips in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So we started out, we have a Sonoyta day trip down to the wineries, and we have a trip to Kit Peak. That's a day trip also. But one thing that we added within the past 3 weeks is what I call Arizona Mines and Wines. And that's sort of a take on adding some history plus some winery visits to that.
Mines and wines. Okay.
Exactly. And actually, I got this inspiration from Visit Tucson. I took their Certified Tourism Ambassador course, and they had a lot of background reading to learn about the local area more, which was fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
But an aspect of that was Arizona is well known for its mining industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's copper. Copper is king in Arizona. It has been for a long time, and it is now. And down in Bisbee, they have Bisbee, a mining museum, and they have the Queen Anne mine, and they do tours. And I thought it would be great to combine the two. Go down in the morning to the mines, learn what it was like to live in the mines, work in the mines in the 1800s,
right.
Then have lunch up in the Elgin area, and then visit some wineries in the afternoon,
so on,
and such.
Well, back in the day, as they say, it was a bustling city.
Yes.
And mining there, wonderful, rich history.
Exactly.
To be able to go see that.
And it's something else that we can highlight, and that's really a way of the more variety of day trips that we offer that have different aspects to them that really highlight different parts of Arizona and Arizona's history.
Mm-hmm.
That'll attract more people and be of more interest than just do the same thing everybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one, and that's kind of how...
Well, that's a great thing, I think. That's a wonderful addition to the firm, don't you think?
Exactly, yes. And that's why I thought about approaching Wendy about working with Chef Chic, because I learned about Chef Chic last fall. We had a group of 8 entrepreneurs from Ohio and Canada actually come down to Tucson for a 3-day retreat last November,
mm-hmm.
and I helped organize that with them, and they wanted a catered dinner. And so I looked around, and I found Wendy, and Wendy designed the dinner and the Southwest theme, and it was catered at the residence up in Oro Valley, and they absolutely loved it. And that's how I learned about you and what you do, which was great. And I thought, well, why don't we do something more direct together and something that really it brings the two together. It highlights both the cooking and
mm-hmm.
talents of Chef Chic and Wendy and where we travel, because not everybody can go to the Cook Islands every month and find out what it's like to be there.
Right.
Well, food connects everybody. And by having a thematic dinner based on the destinations where we travel, it's a good way to get people together. They can try new food. They can learn about where the destination is, what we do when we're there. And really, we want to keep this nice and intimate at about 25 people or less. It's going to be fairly exclusive. And we want it right now, thinking about having it at different locations around Tucson, including at Wendy's restaurant. And just as a way to get more people involved locally and directly and to learn about both of our businesses as far as that goes.
So when you go back, how did you first find Wendy? How did you know she could do catering?
I did a web search. I did a web search. That's all I did. It's
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Find a private chef nearby. So go on Google, and I Googled you.
So Chef Chic, although it's a restaurant, Wendy.
Yes.
Okay, which is what, breakfast and lunch?
Yes.
You obviously started with the good thought in mind of doing catering.
Yes.
Because that's a good business, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I started actually in 2001. And I used to go into people's homes and cook all this food and package it up and put it in their fridge and freezer. So I kind of started as a personal chef. And then I kept getting more and more requests for parties and doing different things. And then I personally kind of got tired of schlepping all of my equipment every day in and out of people's houses. So I moved into a commercial kitchen and just really took off with the catering and everything else. And then this last year, winning Tucson's Iron Chef has exploded our company with catering and things like that. And then having more of a storefront and more of a presence in front of people than we used to. We were kind of hidden before, and we were inside the Arizona Daily Star newspaper. So it was a little bit hard to find us. So that's why we got this new location.
I suppose all their staff found you, though, did they?
They did, every day.
I was going to say.
I still get texts how much they miss us. So
Now, you're from Washington, I believe. Is that right?
Right outside of Washington, D.C.
Well, outside is really Virginia.
Yes.
So you are from Virginia.
Yes.
Now, did you learn to cook when you were very young, of grandma or mom, or how did you start?
Actually, my dad. My dad
Your
loves to
dad
cook.
was the cook?
Yeah.
Wow.
My mom cooked during the week just because she had to, but my dad loved to cook. So in the weekends, we would spend a lot of time in the kitchen together, and that's how I got started. And then I went to the Culinary Institute of America in New York after high school and went and got my associate's degree in culinary arts and then worked around the country a little bit and ended up here. And
that's sort of like the Juilliard, isn't it,
Yes.
of cooking?
yes, it is.
Yeah, high end. Well done. Good on you.
Thank you.
So it's not just some old recipes you found in the bottom of the cupboard one day when you were growing up or something. Like some people have a natural flair, but no, you've done the whole bit. And there's a lot in the study, isn't there?
Yes.
That you have to do.
And a lot of it is from travel and seeing different cuisines, and then just time.
Right.
You can't learn it all in first year of cooking.
Right.
It takes time and practice and.
Yeah, my word, it would. So the restaurant now that you have, Chef Chic.
Yes.
Okay, very chic, huh? After the name, very Frenchy too.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about your restaurant as it is right now.
Okay.
What do you specialize in? Locals, what can they expect if they went there?
We have a pretty scaled down menu for breakfast and lunch, but we offer different specials every day. So that kind of almost doubles our menu depending on what we're doing. We have lots of different types of sandwiches, but we try to put a little spin on it. So one of our most popular sandwiches is the roast beef pho. So it's kind of after a pho soup, but it's on ciabatta with roast beef and a hoisin vinaigrette with jalapeno mousse and sprouts and cilantro.
That sounds good.
Yes, it sounds darn good. Unfortunately, I love the cheddar bread too, but I wouldn't be able to have it. I've been on a very strict keto diet for 4 weeks.
Okay.
Mind you, I've lost 12 pounds, so I'm quite happy.
Nice.
But the reality is I'm looking forward to getting back to normal.
Yeah.
Because I do miss the bread.
Yes.
But you do change, and I miss the varieties, the spuds, so to speak. But my wife is an excellent cook, and she bought that Ninja cook thing, which is amazing. And she's been learning and doing all these keto dishes because she's doing it with me, which is luckily fantastic. And it is amazing, just the differences you can do with food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. So you've been going how long now then with Chef Chic?
I started Chef Chic in 2001.
Okay, so we're talking, 19 years
19
now?
years this year.
You've survived.
I have.
Have you tried the evening type of normal restaurant hours, or it's too much?
We have not yet. Because we're so busy with catering, it's hard to have
Okay.
dinners catered out of the restaurant and be in the restaurant. So right now we're going to keep it breakfast and lunch, and then we'll see, you know, as we can get more staff in and keep changing things up.
As you grow, of course, more outgoings and more this. Everything's got a balance, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Who orders your catering? Is it mainly corporations or?
It's a wide variety mix. We do a lot of businesses. We do a lot of people that are in town staying in Airbnbs, a lot of offices, corporate,
really?
Private homes. Yeah.
Do we have many Airbnbs in Tucson?
Oh, yes.
More than you would imagine.
Really?
Hundreds.
It's really cool. Hundreds. And they find you how? Again, online?
Online, yeah.
Okay. Through
And a couple of the Airbnbs that do bigger groups, like 15 to 20 people, they have our cards and brochures in their little folders, so people
very good.
can find out about us.
It's like the old things. You go around the hotels in the old days, you have the compendium in there in the room, and maybe you'd use Wendy's, you know, or this one here. Very good. Good on you. I mean, that's it's nice to see someone successful and in doing what you're doing. And Paul's very lucky because he's really now got an absolute pro working with him on this particular promotion for Trouvaille. So lift the lid off it. Let's talk about it a little more, Paul, on what you'd expect to do on these evenings. You know, I'm always keen to say, for instance, to go to Ireland, right?
Right.
One day I'll get there. If it was an Irish night, right, what would I expect, guys?
Well, Wendy's going to be developing the whole menu, but the whole idea behind the thematic dinners is, you know, if it's like you're going to Ireland, you know, like you're being there and you're having an authentic Irish meal, you know, whether it's bangers and mash or whatever, you know, it's something that is going to be authentic, and it's going to be something that's going to bring you there and make you more interested in being there and wanting to know what it's like, because that sparks people's interest in travel and it gets them curious and wanting to know more and to learn more and to do more. So it's really meant to bring people together, basically have a good meal, learn about what we do in Ireland, and, you know, there's certainly no obligation for anybody to do anything, but it's basically a learning experience. If they want to travel to Ireland with us, that's great. But if they don't, that's perfectly fine too, because it's all about, in this case, the focus is on the food.
So it's really like a dinner and learn on behalf of your side of things.
Yes.
Where if people are interested and it appeals to them, they can ask questions and go in depth with you of what it would really be like to do a trip like that, to go to Ireland. So Winnie, are you going to be serving like Irish booze as well, or wines, or can you do that?
Absolutely.
Are you licensed?
We don't have a current liquor license, but we have. We can hire a company to come in.
Okay, and do that sort of thing.
Do that for us.
And what about any Irish music or Irish band you got in mind? Or?
Well, I guess it depends where we go. At the restaurant, there's not a whole lot of room for a band.
Right.
But we're thinking of other places around town also, so we can sort of...
You know, probably the safest thing you could do, Paul, is just take a nice little player with tapes. Different types of music. Well, it's in the background anyway.
Oh, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, of different types of different countries. You know, there's gorgeous Greek music, there's lovely Irish music, and so on. Raina, when I think about it, there's a lot of different styles of music.
Actually, I do know some musicians in town where if we do have a space big enough, we could do some live music if we were that ambitious. So
And a little bit of jigging too, a little bit of dancing. I forget their name, but I saw them in Australia before I left a long time back. River Road, is it? The Irish dancers?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. You could ring them up in the state and, you know, bring them over from... Here, oh dear. Trouvaille Travel. You opened this thing, what, a year ago now, a bit longer?
Well, it's February 2017 officially, so it's now been 3 years.
3 years, and the focus was quite unique.
You know, let's just say that in 3 years, I have learned a lot. It started out as basically our big trips, as the sole activity. And I was in New Mexico at the time, and then we moved to Tucson in summer of 2017 when it was 115 degrees. And so we settled roots in Tucson, and we want to make Tucson our home. But we've progressively expanded the scope of the business because, you know, from a business perspective, my view was, well, it's better to have 3 revenue streams instead of 1. You know, it's be more robust in what you do. So our big trips are there, but we added the day trips, and we have
Now, when we talk about, before we move off them, when we talk about the big trips,
right.
These are personally escorted trips. These are groups. I think you only took 20 or more, was it? Something like that?
We could top it off at 20.
You top it off at 20. These were couples or single.
Right. It's small group hosted travel.
Small group hosted travel.
Right.
Okay.
So we have a host there with them. So people basically, anybody could go there on their own. But the demographic that has stood out for us from the very beginning has been the more mature traveler and a tendency to focus on women. Women by far who are 40 and older, which I call active mature, because it's not old, because I'm now going to be 55 later this year, so it's not old. They have shown the most interest, and they are our biggest customers by far. And
I would think that they like the idea of being, looked after and escorted.
It makes life a bit easier. You don't have to worry about logistics, and you have to obviously have an itinerary that's engaging, that is something that's not just off the rack, so to speak, and that really, like we did Maine in June of last year, we...
now, that's summer there then, isn't it? That's summertime.
That was in June, yeah. I mean, people went out lobster boating. People went on a coastal cruise. People learned about the history of Maine, and people ate a lot of lobster. And we've actually...
It's very different, isn't it?
We've categorized our trips into special interest categories instead of just having them all together.
Right.
Maine fits into our foodie category.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, right, exactly. That makes sense, yeah.
And Maine is all about...
Particularly if you're eating lobsters like that, because they're supposed to be the best in America, aren't they?
Maine lobster
lobster.
Certainly better than non-Maine lobster.
Yeah, right.
Spiny lobster.
Then there's the other thing, too, because I love good chowder soup.
Oh, yeah.
But very hard to get in the West, apparently.
Yeah.
Compared to back east.
Oh, absolutely.
Real chowder. So just top off some of those trips again where you've been in the last 3 years, where you've taken your... You're very loyal patronage people.
Well, we've had a South Caribbean sail, and I fell in love with the Caribbean.
I love the Caribbean, too.
In my past life as a scientist, I traveled to Hawaii all the time for my research. And so I got to go to the Big Island about 30 times, go to Mauna Kea, do the whole island. But one day I realized, I've never been to the Caribbean. And if for no other reason, I should go because it's closer. And so I personally went on a small ship sail in summer of 2016, and I just fell in love with that. You put me on a sailing ship, I'll just sail the Caribbean, I'll be done, I'll just do that. It doesn't matter.
That would be very, very nice, yeah.
And so that was our first company trip. We did that in fall of 2018, and we've done an Napa Valley weekend, so that's kind of another foodie type of trip that we do, and we did Maine last June. So, and we have 4 trips that are getting booked up this year already, which is the best. So
are they repeat business? Are they people that have already done?
Some of them are.
Some of them are. So they must be darn good, because there's an old saying, isn't there, Wendy? If the food was lousy, you don't go back.
That's right.
So I guess if the trips aren't entertaining and enjoyable enough, why would you? You'd go somewhere else. So those trips were escorted. They were groups. They're going to continue, right? But they're like a division, if you like, of Trouvaille, right?
Yeah, especially, once we grow, it is going to have to be segmented into different divisions or departments. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, because, travel is so diverse.
It is.
And as you grow, now, you're looking at things with... the local day trips now that you're adding, okay. Now, what are you hoping to do? I know, there's a lot of history in the surrounding area. Are you tied up with anybody on travel with this or bus groups or anything, or how does that work, something like that?
Well, right now we do it in New York and in Tucson, obviously. And why New York is because we have a relationship with a concierge service in New York City that basically manages a group of apartments in Manhattan. And we have been doing day trips for them since 2017. And this is this is big bus trips, big bus day trips for about up to 50 people going upstate, go visit apple orchards, see the fall foliage, go to art museums. And we have had this constant relationship with this company that we have had since 2017. And we did 2-day trips with them this past October. And so that has been a really fruitful relationship that just kind of fell into our lap in the very beginning, which was nice. So that's why New York, and we want that to continue. And then when we moved here, it's like, well, we certainly have to do something in Tucson if we're going to be headquartered here.
Right.
So we added Sonoita, we added Kip Peak, and now we're going to add more.
Right.
And we're going to have others. One of our travel hosts, Therese Pro, who has been on the show before, with us has other day trips that she's developing. So we really want to have a collection of 6 to 10 different day trips that eventually we're going to be offering all the time.
Well, it sounds very diverse.
Yes.
I mean, you know, the old, you should have something for everybody there.
Try anyway, yeah.
You know, that's a pretty good thing. Have you traveled much, Wendy, yourself?
I have. I've done some. Not as much as I wish I could, but I've been to Munich, Germany, Venice, Italy, Geneva, Switzerland.
Right.
I've done quite a few Caribbean cruises with friends and different places.
Yeah.
A lot of all over the country. I've been almost every state.
Well, we've got lovely islands in Australia too, off the coast and so on, and sailing, of course, they do that. But I actually met my wife on a cruise that did the Mexican Riviera, then went into the Caribbean as well. So I fell in love with the Caribbean as well.
Yeah.
I have a dream of having a lovely little bure bar on the white sand one day, and that's it.
That'd be kind of nice, yeah. I can see that.
People from all over the world, you know. I think that would be a fascinating trip, and you're actually adding to those as well, aren't you, Paul? You have they're not escorts. There's another name for them. The people that might be in another country that will look after the tour.
You know, you can call them a travel host. There are guides,
ambassadors, perhaps,
or ambassadors.
Okay, and you're building that up too, aren't you? I think you've got a fellow in Ireland.
Yeah, we have one gentleman who I'm working with that. He's in Dublin, actually, so that's in process. But yeah, the idea is to have a local host because we want somebody there who knows the place like the back of their hand. They live there, or they've been there extensively, something like that.
Yeah. Paul Hardersen's not reading it out of a book.
As much as I would like to travel all the time and do this all the time, it's totally impossible.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So now we've gone from international travel on the escorted tours and what have you to local.
Right.
And the idea of the local is to be able to cover what would be the radius, as an example. Is it all southern Arizona?
It's southern Arizona, yeah.
Southern Arizona. All the wonderful things that a lot of people don't even know about. Even the locals have never seen a lot of this stuff, you know.
That's the irony or paradox of when you live somewhere, is that you live somewhere, you get used to living there. So you're not used, or you don't tend not to go do things and go look around. Because I take an example of Paris. People, you get to Paris, it's like, my gosh, there's so much to see in Paris. But people who live there sort of think of it as an afterthought. Or anywhere that has things that we might find amazing. People who live there, to some degree, take them for granted.
Well, they would, yeah.
Because you're just used to it. And we want to really highlight what's going on in the Southwest, because there's a lot of diversity around here in so many ways, and the history is rich. And,
Well, we get an enormous amount of tourists, too.
Yes.
Don't we, to Tucson?
Yes.
And there's a market there, I am sure, that would like to go and see stuff,
Right.
Have you, Wendy, as a matter of interest, you've been here a while now, so there's no excuses. Where have you been locally?
I've done a lot of this stuff. Pima Air and Space Museum, the Boneyards. I've been to Bisbee, Tombstone. I have not been out to Kip Peak yet, but I did do Kashner Caverns. I've done Desert Museums, Reed Park Zoo.
Cool.
So, yeah, I've done quite a bit.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I think growing up right outside of D.C., you took advantage of all the Smithsonian museums and all the festivals. And that was one thing that I really missed, that part. So when I came out here, I tried to see what was going on.
I know. There's more of America, like you just mentioned. I really want to go to D.C. I've been to New York, but it was only for a few days, right after 9/11, in fact. And it was very weird and different then, but a trip like Paul does now, like they do the bus tour in New York, must see a lot of wonderful places that you could do in New York, America's such a big, beautiful country. There's plenty to see.
Absolutely.
And I've always been a great advocate of saying to people, get out of your state. Go see your own country. Right. Go travel.
Yeah.
Before you do anything else, And it amazes me, too, why, and my wife can't get over this either. A lot of youth of America want to do Europe early. They can do it. And see, Europe, to me, is full of beautiful museums and painters and history and God knows what. But do it later when you're older. Do the Aussies first. Do Australia, do New Zealand, and have the fun stuff. Bungee jump off a bridge, do it, do all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
But no, it's fascinating. It's wonderful. Do you have a favorite spot, Wendy, you'd love to go that you've never been?
Probably Japan.
Why? Not the food.
Part of it is the food,
Yeah.
and the culture, and it just really intrigues me. I think I would really. That's one of my definitely top ones, and then actually, Iceland is my other one.
Yeah, that's getting very popular, you know. A lot of hot bars there, like New Zealand, I think, is there? In Iceland? Thermal bars, they call them. Right? Marvelous things.
Yeah.
People travel all over, the south to go to New Zealand, to go down to Lake Wakatipu, or that's not it. That's down in Queenstown. But, God, I should know it better, but it's where where all the thermal baths are in New Zealand, and it absolutely stinks, all the phosphorus, in the motel. But they've been going there for years. They lose 20 years. They're fit.
Yes.
There's got to be something in it all.
Absolutely.
Do you have somewhere, Paul, you've never been?
Well, there have been plenty of places I still haven't been. If I could pick a place where I want to go now. See, I've done most of the Caribbean, so I can't use that as an excuse.
Right.
I'm happy to go back. I guess, and it's tied into one of our trips, is Polynesia. Go farther west of Hawaii to the Cook Islands, Tahiti, Micronesia, Melanesia, that whole area, just basically northeast and east of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to be in that part of the world. I've been basically here east all the way around to Singapore, but not
Right.
from Singapore. Basically, Singapore to Hawaii, I haven't been in that part of the world yet.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's kind of would be the next thing to do.
It's sort of, there is distance. You look at a map of the world, Wendy, flat, right in front of you. On the extreme left are the eastern countries, and just below that is Australia and Tasmania, a beautiful little place, Tasmania, Little England. And, of course, you've got New Zealand across the pond. And then you've got those Indonesias and the Asias all above you, and India and so on through to London. In fact, when we used to finish in Australia University, you would go from Melbourne, Australia, and hitchhike all the way to Darwin at the top of Australia, then across to Indonesia, then all the way up through India to get to England, to London, where Kangaroo Court's where all the Aussies stayed and the pubs were and so on. But you're looking at that same map on your right-hand side of the world, the United States, and then South America. And the only gap was that 13-hour flight from Melbourne or Sydney to LAX. And, I've done it so many times, and I tell people, just do the night flight at 11 p.m. You get on board, you take off about 1 in the morning or about 12:30. They bring you a lovely meal, 4 bottles of red, 6 movies you've never seen yet or been released in the theatres. Next minute, they're tapping you on the shoulder over Sydney Harbour or Melbourne. Wake up, we're here, 7 in the morning. Because you're sleeping.
Right.
You've had a long day, and you go. Little tricks of the trade when you travel, right, Paul?
Yep, absolutely.
How to beat the lag, the jet lag and
Yes.
stuff like that, because puts a lot of people off. It's not that far, when you think about it. But most Aussies, most New Zealanders, they tend to go left, and they tend to go up that what I talked about, to see, and over to Aussie, and then up through that way. Whereas Americans, might go south, used to go south to South America, but they're going to New Zealand. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And if they do New Zealand, they want to do Australia. And if they do Australia, they want to do New Zealand because it's so far down there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think travel's a wonderful thing. I think it's the greatest education. You got kids, by the way?
I do not.
No, you're not. Don't have children. If you ever do, you want to get them to travel. When you did travel, being a chef, were you, deliberate on restaurants, how they served?
Oh, absolutely. I wanted
Yeah.
to try as much local stuff as I can, and anywhere I go, whether it's here in Arizona or out of the state, or I always look at places and where we can go and what's different and what's unique and
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
Very good. And what was your favorite meal that came out of Japan?
Well, I haven't been to Japan. I want to go to Japan.
Oh, you want to go to
Yeah,
Japan. That's
yeah.
right. That's on your bucket list,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah. All right. So from your travels, anything special you've picked up that you incorporate today in Chef Chic?
I learned how to make authentic German-style pretzels with food-grade lye, so that definitely is a difference if you've never had a real one versus the frozen box ones. And yeah, I'm sure there's a few other things. Definitely picked up some stuff out of Germany when I was there.
Yeah.
I fell in love with how everything is.
Do you like sauerkraut?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Yeah, I think it's got a taste that you've got to, maybe brought up with. It's like Vegemite for me. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't like that.
Right.
I love it.
What about that classic schnitzel?
Schnitzel?
Oh, yes. I love schnitzel.
I thought that was more Swedish or more Swiss.
No,
but it's German, isn't
I
it?
thought it was German.
That's German.
Yeah.
Well, in all your travels, Paul, was there anything food-wise that you've never forgot just how lovely it really is?
I'm kind of addicted to seafood in all of its forms. So, from lobster to shrimp to octopus to Hawaiian.
Yeah.
The Hawaiian seafood is fabulous. The different types of fish that are available.
Right.
That would be my go-to cuisine if I had
Really?
my choice. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have crayfish. It's a poor man's lobster, of course, on a hot summer's day on the beach with a bottle of chilled white. But they're similar. I don't care what anybody says. Good crayfish and lobster, they can taste similar. But what I do miss is good oysters.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We've got some great restaurants in Tucson and great food, but everything's got to be brought in, basically, right? Is there a secret to that, Wendy, with the trucking, refrigeration? How do they do it? How do they try to keep as fresh as they can?
A lot of the deliveries will have refrigerated trucks, especially oysters and things are always usually overnighted. And you keep things on ice and just do the best you can. But yeah, it's definitely come a long way from where it used to be. So
Yeah.
you can get pretty much anything in nowadays.
Well, that reminds me, when I used to live up in North Dakota, there were 2 restaurants that I liked, and both of them flew in their seafood from Hawaii, like you said, Wendy, overnight.
Wow.
And then one of them had lobster, and you could tell it wasn't fresh. But again, as you said, they do the best they can with what they have, and at least they can offer it in some form that's still pretty good.
Well, you're listening to Trouvaille Travel Talk on the Business Radio Network across America and on podcasts throughout the world. Wherever you're listening, get to Tucson, look them up. They're easy to find. Paul will tell you all about that in a moment. Just get online. It's a lovely website, and it covers a lot of things, and you'll be able to contact them, and they'll look after you. Particularly if you weren't going to come down to the Southwest, maybe you're getting into Phoenix. Make a point of coming down. It's worthwhile. It's only a couple of hours down the road, and we've got great golf courses too, and lots of other lovely things. And our wines are pretty good. And you know what? It's well worth doing. Maybe you want to ride a little horsey, bit of a GG ride, and have a nice spa and go for somewhere in a top restaurant. Maybe a top breakfast or lunch. You've got to go to, remember, it's called Chef Chic. Okay, Chef Chic. You can't forget that, Wendy. Now, let's talk about these dinners. What have you got in mind? Do you want to talk more about what Chef Chic does as food? Would you like that, Wendy, for a little bit? Give us an idea of your menu.
I think we do something, we try to keep everything very customized. We have sample menus for people to look at, but we definitely talk to them and find out what they're interested in, so we can do lots of different things. We're still kind of working on the Ireland menu, but it's not going to just be, when you think of Ireland, you think of bangers and mash, shepherd's pie, cabbage and potatoes, corned beef, things like that. And, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. So, but we try to do different things with that. So it won't be your typical corned beef, cabbage, and potatoes. We'll do different spins on things, lots of different stuff to play with.
Right.
But,
Okay. And what else do you do? Because you mainly catering's big for you.
Yes.
Well, give us an idea then of what the requests are for catering that you may get.
We get a lot of themed parties. So I get a lot of Roaring 20s, Mad Men. I've even had a zombie 20s party.
Really?
Yes. We did a zombies 20 party last year. That was pretty fun. A lot of different Cinco de Mayo, or we're doing a party in March, and they're going to be watching a film at the Loft about a French and American design contest. So all the food is French themed for that night.
Right.
Kind of go with the movie theme. So, a lot of people call us with themes, and, or it's, if we do, sometimes we go in and do where we're cooking a lot of it in their kitchen in front of them, so they want to watch.
Okay, so you do that. It's not a matter of arriving there with everything already pre-done at your restaurant.
Yeah. Sometimes we do. It depends.
Sure.
If we're going to someone's house for a 200-person party, I can't do everything at their house.
No.
But, there are times we do like dinners for 8 to 15 or 20, and we're there cooking on site and doing things. And so they'll want a theme so that they can watch and learn about different stuff and go that way.
Wow. So what would happen when you go to a house then, depending on the size, I guess, that you cook? Do you cook everything there or just some of it there?
It depends on the size of the party. If it's, like 200 people, we're going to cook some of it there, and we're going to do a lot of prep and get things ready off site. If it's a dinner for 8, we probably do a lot of it. I'd say 90 to 95% of it on site, except for something like if they had a cheesecake that we need to make the night before because it has to set, then that's something we would do off site. So it kind of varies on what happens and how big their kitchen is too.
Yeah.
So
That's the other thing, isn't it? I mean, you probably go into mansions. Some kitchens are huge.
Yes.
Others are probably as small as my studio here.
Yes. I have very good Tetris skills. I have mastered for.
Have you? Good
yes.
on you. That's the way.
Yeah.
And is there a particular favorite that you like to do?
I get asked this a lot, and I don't know. I think I'm more of a comfort food person, so I like being able to develop some kind of twist on a comfort food item. So, or just something just really, really, tasty, and even if it's just a simple dish, I just want it to be that. So, cool. I'm a huge fan of making gnocchi. I love doing that. So there's that, and then. Do people ask you, or do they specifically know when they contact you what theme they think they want? It goes either way. Okay. Or a lot of times people they'll call us and say, okay, I think I want to do appetizers, but I don't know what kind. So then we go into that realm. Or they call and say, okay, we want a plated dinner, and we go into that realm. Okay. So, and we have a lot of sample menus to send them so they can at least get some kind of concept or idea going, and then even if they don't pick something that's on that, it's totally fine.
Now, the other part of it is, though, because you probably recommend the beverages company.
Yes.
They might want that as well.
Yes. Because
it's like, listen, bring the food in, bring the booze in, handle it all.
Exactly.
I just want to host and have a nice party.
Yes, that happens a lot. So we do handle like rentals if someone wants plates and silverware, not disposables. And then we recommend, we work with a company, Professional Bartenders of Arizona. And so we work with them a lot. The client calls them directly and, handles it.
I think it's Bill's lot, isn't it? Bill. Bill. Well, they do a good job.
They do.
Everywhere I go, they seem to be there. They're quite busy, the whole lot. Paul, do you cook at all?
Yeah, I do when I have time.
When you have time, yeah, because I don't see where you get any time to do anything, quite frankly. Running a travel company, taking the tours, doing the marketing. I mean,
hey, one thing I did do recently, though, I made corn tortillas for the first time from scratch.
Hey,
it's very easy though, but it worked.
Yeah, good one. And do you see any camping type trips coming up? Do you think for people coming out of Trouvaille? I mean, glamour type.
Glamping.
Glamping, that's the one, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had some companies out of Africa approach us about partnering with them, and the types of safari adventures that are available in Africa do kind of range from the typical safari lodge to something like glamping. So it's not outside of the realm, maybe not in the near term, but that's certainly something that we can always keep in mind.
Well, there's so many diversified things. I mean, I don't understand today, though, where it's going at. I mean, am I going to leave it too late not seeing a lot of the world because of the strife there is around the world, because of the various areas we can't go to anymore? People the other day thought Australia's all gone because of the fires. Well, it was only a percentage of it, pretty bad as it was. We lost 1 billion animals, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of Australia that one can see and do tourism on that doesn't affect any of that. But people don't sort of realize that. Now, I think there's enough trouble around the world in one area, but I think there's enough of the globe, isn't there, to still enjoy and see what those bucket lists since you were a kid. You've got to go to the Greek Athenaeum, and you want to go where the gladiators were, and then you might like to go and see all those the history of D.C.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to go there and do that one. It'd be fascinating. And some of the museums, and they'd be enormous back east, I would imagine. They must get tons of tourists.
Oh, yes. So packed all the time.
I've been to D.C. enough times that, I'm with you on that. But there's one thing about a lot of people have a fear of traveling, especially long distances, just because of what you're talking about, Mark.
As it is now, till things pick up again.
There's coronavirus right now.
Yeah.
There's the general political strife. But, being travel savvy is important. Having travel insurance when you go. Being prepared will solve 95% of the problems you may come across down the road. So as romantic as it is to say, let's just pick up and fly off to Budapest, let's say, it's better to be a little bit prepared because that will solve a lot of problems. Because face it, when you travel, a lot can happen. People get sick, people get injured, people have problems, they have delays, airlines get delayed, a lot of things can happen, but there are ways to mitigate that, so it's not
What are the top 3 or 4? You sit down with your wife and you say, yep, we've always wanted to go there, we're going to do it all through Trouvaille. What are the recommendations of the first? Is it insurance, health insurance type thing?
Well, it depends whether it's in country or out of country. If you're out of country, you have to have travel insurance. It's absolutely
I'm talking out of America,
right.
Going somewhere else, all right?
You have to have your immunizations up to date.
Immunizations.
You have to have, obviously, your visas. Your
passports, current. How many people don't have that?
Most don't. The number of American citizens who don't have a passport is, I think, 80 or 90%.
Really?
Most don't have a passport.
Well, Wendy, we were talking earlier about the intent to travel.
Yeah.
That just tells you straight off the bat, doesn't it?
Yeah, they have no
clue at all.
I remember somebody from Iowa. I'm from Iowa, mind you. I remember a friend who said, paraphrasing, I was born in this county. I grew up in this county. I'm not going to leave this county. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do, but you're missing quite a bit in the process. And so some people just have a mentality of, well, why should I go anywhere? It's just a natural mentality. And so our goal, more than anything else, is just to make people curious and make them think about maybe it would be nice to go visit somewhere else. It's not like you're going to move there, but it's about opening your mind is a big part of the whole process. Is be comfortable getting out of your comfort zone, because a lot of it is your comfort zone. A lot of people fear a lot of things about travel. People they don't know, places they don't know. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Getting them to realize that it's going to be okay and you can manage that. Getting them over their fears really is important in a lot of cases.
I think people want answers and they want service. And I'd be asking a lot of questions if I wasn't sure of the country. Politically, are we okay? That I like Americans? Are they going to look after us? I mean, we get all this other stuff done, the passport, the immunizations, the travel cards and all of that business as well. Because, that's been hammered home to us, ads for years now on the television in relation to, hello, I've lost my, I can't pay a visa. I've lost the, don't worry about it. There it is there, fixed.
Right. In fact, an example of when we did that Caribbean sail in August of 2018, there was a little problem that sort of showed that having a host there is a good thing. And it was right before we went on the ship. We stayed in St. Martin, but no, it was St. Lucia. But anyway, we were packing up to go to the ship in the morning. And one of our guests, her credit card this credit card system at the hotel had failed. It went down. The web went down, so she couldn't pay. All she had was a credit card. I just dished out cash and paid for it, and we dealt with that later, and we weren't delayed at all. So it's those kinds of little hiccups in travel that they can be solved quickly if you think about it. So that's why having somebody with the group can help a lot of times.
And being prepared, no doubt. These nights that we're going to be doing at, what's the name of them? What are you calling them?
I don't think we have a name
yet. No branding yet?
No, not yet, but we will.
All right.
Because this is we decided on this, basically last week?
Okay.
So this is very new.
So the idea, ladies and gentlemen, is you'll go to this particular restaurant, which is Chef Chic here in Tucson. And the restaurant is sort of yours for the evening, right? There's no public per se. You're a group of maybe 20, being 10 couples?
Yeah, to top it off at 25.
25, okay. And the place is yours. Right. So you get served of the food of a particular theme that particular night.
Right.
And if we pick an island, then Wendy's and her crew are going to be dishing up a beautiful Irish courses or
Multi-courses, yes.
multi-courses.
Yep.
So do they have desserts over there too then?
Absolutely, yes. Can't not have dessert.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about vacation. Vacation's when you eat all the desserts.
Absolutely.
Okay, so whether it stretches into music, well, that could be simple enough, but we certainly are not going to have any Raylene or Colleens serving or anything in Irish dress or red hair wigs or whatever it is, because they all seem to be Colleens, aren't they?
Because there are other places around Tucson where we can do this where there's going to be more room.
Right,
So
right.
again, so it's up to our imagination as far as where we want this to go.
All right, and the people get there themselves once they know the address and everything, right? They transport themselves there.
Yep. Once Wendy has the menu, she'll send that to me, and the menu will be set, and people will know what they're going to get, and we're going to promote it, and people come and have an enjoyable evening. It could, a business group could do it, a community group, a nonprofits, or just couples. It's open to the public.
It's probably a good idea for nonprofit too, where they could make a profit on the night. If that would help out getting out to their database, who'd like to donate, but they also want something back for it.
Right.
That'd be another good
Absolutely.
idea. Yeah, that'd be great. And this kicks off in a couple of weeks from now. Is that right?
The first dinner is going to be in April. We're still setting the date. But it's going to be approximately every 2 months. But we're going to start in April.
Well, you should be on air then with your show, and you can promote each particular place.
Right.
Before it happens.
Yeah.
So that'll work out well. Okay. What about, Wendy, anything else you'd like to tell us about Chef Chic?
We love food. We love cooking for people. So if you have a food need or need help with a party, you can come in and check us out. We also do grab and go dinners. So we have a refrigerator case in the front. So
A what?
a grab and go dinners.
Oh, grab and go.
Yes.
Okay.
So a fridge case in the front, you can come in and get a meal if you're not up for cooking that night or, anything. We have lots of people that come in. They bring their elderly parents, let them pick out something so they don't have to worry
Isn't
about
that
them
thoughtful?
eating fast food or not eating, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So those are becoming very popular.
Service is a big thing in food. It's becoming that way, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yeah.
Years ago, and I thought usually Australia's behind American ideas, at least 10 years, but a good 30 years ago, we started deliveries from restaurants.
Yeah.
And I actually produced a printed book with all the different restaurants in it, and that was delivered. And they went through the roof with their orders and so on.
Yeah.
The issues were getting it to people hot enough.
Right.
And all those things, not like today.
Yeah.
It's another world. But so you do a lot of that too,
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
very good. It's excellent. And what about the travel side of things, Paul? What can people expect now? What are the plans for the next 6 months to 12?
Well, we're planning for the main trip in June, a repeat of that.
Where is that one to?
That's in Portland.
Oregon?
The main trip.
Oh, the big one.
The big trip in Maine. Let's back up. Our day trips, they're basically available almost every day. The Sonoyta winery trips are available Thursday through Sunday because that's when the wineries are always open.
Now, how does that work? You all go together in a bus?
Yes, we provide. It's door-to-door transportation. We pick people up. We go through the whole day. We bring them back. They don't drive at all.
So you go to their homes to pick them up?
We can if we need to. Yeah.
Otherwise, they can meet at Trouvaille or at a central point somewhere.
Yeah, we can just arrange that as needed.
All right. And then they've gone for the day, which would include a lunch.
Yes.
And different wineries.
Yep, that's all included.
It's just as well they're not drinking, isn't it, Wendy?
And then a nap on the way home.
Yeah, nap on the way home. That's about it. Past their bedtime. That sounds good. And that one's when? Every what?
The winery trips are every Thursday through Sunday because the wineries are where we go. They're open on those days. They're not open every day.
Yeah.
So we have to do it when they're open.
Yeah. Wine trips are great. And what else are you doing then?
We got the Kitt Peak trip. If you want to get a dose of science and astronomy, you go Kitt Peak, which is about 2 hours west of Tucson.
Right.
So it's a nice drive. And you get tours of the observatories that are up at the summit. And they have a solar telescope out there. Learn a little bit about the sun.
But the bus takes you up to the summit?
We go, yes.
Right. You don't have to drive that yourself
No.
or anything? No, a lot of people wouldn't like that. That's very good. And there's all the regulars. What's the... Or are you getting people calling you from other states about B&Bs here in Tucson?
Not yet. Actually, the group that came last November, I would consider them a B2B group because they were actually a group of entrepreneurs who were going on a little retreat. So I really wouldn't know how to classify them otherwise. So still working to develop the B2B market locally. We've got the company in New York, and we're still working on a local project that is in development. And one thing we want to do is work with companies to develop, well, basically custom trips, because we have the trips on the books that we have, but we can custom make anything to any part of the world. And that's the good thing about adding travel agency accreditation. So let's just say I know somebody who works at Keller Williams, Southern Arizona, the realty company. Let's say they wanted to take a group of their realtors on a client trip, but they don't organize that themselves. We could do that for them anywhere in the world. If they wanted to go to Fiji, or if they wanted to go to Belfast, or if they wanted to go to Lima, Peru, we could do all of that
as a group. Yeah,
right. Not just the group trip, but we can plan all the travel. So again, as we talked about earlier, it'll be all wrapped together, and people don't have to go anywhere else to get it done.
What are all the contact details for Trouvaille?
Well, our email is travel@trouvailletravel.org. That's a mouthful, but just do a web search for Trouvaille Travel, and it will pop up. So that's pretty easy. Our phone number is 520-820-8662, and we have a 1-800 number, which is 800-983-3652. And unless I'm sleeping, I respond pretty quickly. So we're available, and of course on our website you can use the pop-up
you can fill in there and details, and you'll get back to people. I mean, you work 24/7, 365, so
essentially,
building a business isn't easy, but it's personal, and you can get a hold of this bloke on the phone. The CEO, yeah. The guy that owns it, yeah. You can actually talk to him. How about that instead of some bot?
No bots allowed now. But
you got the same thing, Wendy, do you? I mean, you answer the phone and have to do everything?
Yeah, I do have an office administrator, Rena, who helps answer the phone, because sometimes we're just busy.
You just can't, you can't do
I
everything.
can't do it all. So depends on if I'm cooking or not, but every now and then I answer the phone and someone will say, "Oh my gosh, really?
It's
Chef Wendy?" I said, "Yeah, I do answer my own phone."
There you go. After I've wiped my hands off that sauce. And,
Right.
What are your goals? What are the plans? What's next on the books for your particular restaurant, Chef Chic?
You know, we are looking at doing weekends and dinners occasionally. So we're probably gonna have a couple of pop-up dinners also. I'm defending my title June 20th for
Whoa, where does that happen?
It happens out at Casino del Sol.
Okay.
So on June 20th, we'll be defending our title. So we're excited about that. So we've got some stuff in the works, and
good.
You know, we're excited.
Good. Well, good luck with that. Now, you're open breakfast and lunches.
Yes.
7 days?
Monday through Friday right now.
Monday through Friday.
Yes.
You've got to have some time off. Heavens above. Balance of life, they say.
Oh,
Plus, when do you go shopping? And all your fresh veggies and everything else. I mean, on your day off, you've got to still go to working.
Absolutely.
Haven't
I'm
you?
still always working.
What are all your contact details?
So our website is chefchicaz.com. And our phone number is 520-406-2757. And you can check us out. We're also on Facebook /Chef Chic Tucson. And that's where we list our daily specials and everything that we've got going on right now. Because we're still working on getting everything up on the website. So.
Very good. Very good. Chef Chic, that's got a little bit of French to it. Your name has a bit of French to it.
Yes.
Any connection at all in the family? Or?
My grandparents were, my grandparents were from Quebec. Yeah. So
is it Quebec or Quebec?
It depends on where you live in the country, I guess. And my dad and his whole side of the family is from Massachusetts. So
okay,
yep,
Massachusetts. BG's on that one, and a lot of Canadians live in Australia. I can tell you.
Yeah.
Time to go. Just about. I want to ask one last question of each of you. I'll just throw it out of the left field, okay? And I'll start with you, Paul. You're loving what you're doing, but when you look back and you really think about everything and learnt what you've learnt now, what would be the biggest thing in difference that you would do for Trouvaille Travel?
I started the whole gig really not knowing what I'm doing. As far as what you need to do to run a business, I kind of learned it in reverse by necessity. And both from the travel side of things and from the business side of things, because I have an academic science background. So I had no prior history in business. So it would have made things a bit easier, let's say, that I would have learned a few things before I started this, but it's all worked out.
There you go. He's done it the hard way, in other words.
Yes.
And Wendy, for you, if you had an opportunity to all over again, did you take the right path?
Yeah, I think I did take the right path. I definitely would have started working with a business coach sooner. That has definitely helped me tremendously. Yeah. So I wish I had started that a little bit sooner. But, I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't hit all the bumps and potholes that I didn't know on the way. So, you can't, I don't have any regrets. I just wish
that's the biggest thing.
I had started with a, business coach earlier, because that has made a huge difference for me.
There you go. Well, you're honest in doing it. Wendy Gauthier, who is the owner, CEO, chief cook and bottle washer of Chef Chic.
Yes.
And the 2019 Iron Chef winner. Not bad, huh? And she's going to be doing specialty dinners for Trouvaille Travel, a very unique travel company here and growing in Tucson, who really look after you. And their CEO is Paul Hardersen. Paul, lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
It's your show, so nice to have you. And Wendy, lovely meeting you too.
Nice meeting you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Tucson Business Radio X. It'll be consistently on this show, playing as a podcast, forever on the site, and of course on other sites as well. Contact either of them should you like some service or you would like to find out a lot more about what they do. And it's been a pleasure having you as listeners. We'll see you again.